Welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking about the FS-GT5 remote. This thing allows you to program up to 20 cars into a single remote, and you can also replace the AA batteries with a 2-cell LiPo. As you see here, we're getting a little cluttered on the shelf with the remotes, so I wanted to cut down on some of that, so we got us one of these. Just a quick preview of some of the features that they have on this thing. It's a 6-channel, and as you can see, it's got it pre-printed right there on the screen. It has a lot of different settings, everything from your actual vehicle that you're going to be using or model. You'll be able to like reverse your steering and your throttle. It also has your dual rates, your trim, sub-trim. It has ABS, SVC, your crawl, your fail-safe. So whether you're running gas or electric or boats or 4-wheel steer, this thing has you covered. For a price point, it's only about $70, so it's much cheaper than a lot of the more expensive versions of controllers out there. But it allows you to still, like I said, 20 cars and do it on a budget, which personally, that kind of fits for me. Alright, now that all that little detail mumbo jumbo stuff is out of the way, let's go ahead and get to the fun part. Let's turn this thing on and take a look at it with the power to it. As you can see, it gives you your voltage, right off the bat, lets you know where your controller's sitting. You can program up to the 20, like I said. Right now I've only got 4 in here. And you can go through, now that you can actually see the screen lit up. So in the generic setting, it's always going to say GT5A right out of the box. And you put whatever name to whatever channel that you want to program whichever your car to. Like I said, today we're going to put it on my Gen 8. That way you can see just how easy it is and how quickly you can just throw it in and get to playing with it. Alrighty, now that you got a quick look at that, let's set this aside, show you what you get in the box. Outside of the controller, you get the instruction book, well, quick start, which is basically useless. I went online, and I'll put that link down below on how to get to the actual manual, which is a lot more helpful, gives you a lot more detailed stuff. Take a closer look at the remote here, and you can see on the side you have your extra channel buttons, your channel 3 and 4, and then you have your trim, sub-trims for your throttle and your steering, which really kind of gets me. You have 2 different places where you can adjust your trims, but hey, whatever. Some people might like the old school. I'd rather program it and be done with it. Also up on top you have a couple of knobs which give you your other channels, and on the buttons here you have the button and the selector wheel. You have your bind and your enter. Well, let's go ahead and get to the meat and potatoes of this thing and show you about throwing a receiver in a truck and how quickly it is just to bind it and get moving. As you can see here, I still have the Dumbo remote, which is a really good remote. I like it, especially for the price point. But I had it on 3 different trucks, so every time I had to switch trucks, I'd have to rebind to my remote, and I wanted it to be simpler, so that's why we went with this remote, because I can keep it all on one thing. So with the Dumbo receiver out, and we're going to take the receiver for the Fly Sky and drop that sucker in here and show you how to go ahead and bind this thing. Start with, you got to have a freshly charged battery, you got to have your bind plug, and you got to have your receiver. Yeah, pretty standard. Basically everything's the same as the other ones. So nothing new there. As you can see, you have your different channels. Your bind is all the way at the top, where your channel 1 for your servo is down at the bottom. Other than that, I haven't seen any real difference than any other receiver. They seem to be pretty standard as far as that goes. Find your wires. For me, it was kind of like I got a little bit of a rat's nest going on here, so trying to find out which one was the servo, which one was going to the ESC, took me a second. But once I found it and got it all plugged in, it was real quick after that. And you can see, making sure I get the negative to negative and the positive to the positive. That way you don't mess things up. And I had to double check because, well, my eyes aren't so good and my fingers aren't exactly cooperating with me today. So let's give this one more try, and we'll get it in there and get it going for you. There we go. Now we've figured it out. We can get moving with it. The extra plugs I have on this truck are for lights, so I didn't need to hook those up just to be able to bind it, but since I'm going to be hooking it all up anyway, let's go ahead and just throw it in there, because it's not going to hurt. And with that hooked up, we'll plug in our battery and get our remote out. Turn the truck on, turn the remote on, but when you turn the remote on, you got to turn it on holding the bind button. So as you can see, I'm going ahead and I'm going to switch over to the Gen 8. You can see, and then I'm going to shut the remote back off. Then that way I can press the bind button. I'm going to turn the truck on, then press the bind button, then turn the remote on, and then beep. That's all there is to it. It is ready to go. It's that simple. So I hope this little tutorial gives you some idea and helps you out. They're not exactly new on the market, but it's a good remote.